All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Scott White, who is the CEO of a public real estate company and the author of The Life is Too Short Guy, Strategies to Make Every Day the Best Day Ever. Scott, how you doing?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
I am fantastic, man. Thanks so much for asking. And we like to jump right in. So if you could start with just telling me a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Sure. As you mentioned, I am currently the chairman and CEO of a public real estate company. And my big project, my big passion, my big interest right now is the book that I released earlier this year, The Life is Too Short Guy. It's an Amazon #1 best-selling book. I've won a couple of awards around it. And now I'm out spreading the word, making the world happier one smile at a time. That's my mission, my goal, my vision right now. And it's actually what I'm doing for fun too. I mean, I like to do a lot of different things for fun. I love to run and bike and play golf and hike, and I can go through the litany of things. In fact, life is just one big fun adventure. But for me right now, telling the sharing the message around the life is too short guy is probably one of the more fun things I'm doing.
I got you. I got you. And you said making the world happier one smile at a time. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's my tagline right now, making the world happier one smile at a time. And as I see you smile already, I've had success, and it's early in the morning, so it's a great day.
There we go, man. Well, what made you decide to write the book? Like, I feel like I wouldn't expect the CEO of a public real estate company to necessarily branch off and write that book. So, what kind of made you go that direction?
So I've always wanted to write a book. It's one of those bucket list things. We all have this long list of, well, maybe not all, but I have a long list of all these things I want to accomplish. And one of them was write a book. And I never knew what or when or how. And then during COVID, back in 2021, seems like a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago. I started working with a new executive coach. His name is Kevin. And in our first session, we did a bunch of assessments and interview questions. And the second session, he started the call with, dude, you were like Mr. Life is Too Short guy. Everything is rah rah, get it done today, urgency. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's true. I never thought of it that way. And then that night I mentioned it to my wife, and I'm very fortunate and blessed. I've been with my wife for a long time. She knows me very well. We've been together since high school. And she says to me, she's like, Mr. Life is Too Short guy. Maybe that's the name of your book, and that's what your book is about. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. What would that book be about? And she's smarter than me, and she planted that seed, then she watered that seed, and she'd be like, have you thought about that book? And I started drafting out an outline in 2021, and then I stopped. And then in 2022, I went all in and spent the year writing the book. And for me, it's a way of, for a long time, I'm a super high energy, positive person. I have been for a long time. It's just my disposition. It's how I live my life. And people have said to me, you should become a motivational speaker. You should share. I wish I could package up your energy, your attitude, your perspective, and share it with others. And it finally clicked for me. The book is the package. The book is my way of sharing this message and this philosophy with the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it. So it's pretty much been a part of your fabric since as long as you can remember. And now you're just packing it up and getting it out to the world.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay, okay. And so the process of writing the book, was it difficult for you? Did it just pour out? What exactly is the book about? Take us in a deep dive.
So the process was amazing. It was, as I think about all the things I've done in my life, and as you could tell by what I've talked about, I'm a super positive person. This was one of the most fun things I've done the last decade. It was way outside my comfort zone. This was sort of my entrepreneurial endeavor. I was pushed outside of my box, and I'd never written a book before. I had no idea what I was doing. I got involved with a collaborative writing group, a class that I took, and then found a publisher that reviewed it and worked with different editors. And it was, the writing was actually fairly easy for me. I like to write, and I knew the message. One of the beauties of this is me. Like, this book is my thoughts, my worldview, how I live my life. And I didn't have to go out and figure it out. I knew what it was. So the writing part was easy. The hardest parts were, one, finding the time, two, figuring out actually how to write a book. There's one thing to sit down and write. There's another thing to write a book, and then to come up with the cover art, and then to come up with the publishing strategy, and then to come up with the marketing, and then to build a website, and then to, all those things that when you're starting a quote unquote business, that was the challenge. So it was an amazing fun ride. And right now, to this day, it is so fun. And what's most fun about it for me in the world that I'm in living right now is doing these podcasts. I've been doing some radio and television appearances. I've been speaking before companies, and then I hear from people. So I am truly hopeful that somebody listens to your show and finds me and reaches out and said, "Hey, this resonated with me, and this works. This here's a story of how I've applied these principles," which is just amazing. Like I'll give you a really great example today, like real time. There is the woman that checks you in at the gym. For years now, she's been saying to me, "Have the best day ever." So about 3 weeks ago, I gave her a book. I'm like, you know what? I wrote a book about living life and making every day the best day ever. I walked in this morning and she's like, "Scott, I have to talk to you. So one of your chapters is about passion, and I'm trying to figure out what my passion is." And I'm like, "This is amazing. Like this is the book in the real world, impacting people sharing their stories, sharing their interests." That's really been the most fun part of the journey.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. That's awesome, man. I love how you get to see the real-time effects of your book because that's why you wrote it, to share it, package your energy and share it. And so now you see it's being received.
And some of the stories have been just amazing. I got a text from a guy, a friend of mine, maybe we'll call it 2 months ago, and he said, "I am standing in line waiting to get my tea, and I'm crying
Oh,
because you opened your book." At the beginning of my book, I talk about when my father was, when I was 10 years old, my father had a heart attack. That's how I opened the book. And I talk about the impact that had on me and so on and so forth. And he said, "I have a 10-year-old son. And you got me thinking like, wow, what would it be like if I passed away now and wasn't around for my son?" And that made him think. I got a note from somebody else who said that they hadn't seen their mom in years. And as they're reading my book, they went online, bought a ticket to go see their mom, go see his mom, because life is too short. I got a note from somebody who said he always wanted to write a screenplay. Reading my book, he decided he's going to sit down and write a screenplay. I got a note from I mean, I can go through the list of this is what motivates and inspires me. This is why I wrote the book, and this is what excites me.
mm, I got you. And so you're a really positive guy now, but as a 10-year-old, you lost your dad. Was there ever a part in your life where you had to develop that positivity or straight out the womb? That's who you were.
So no, I certainly developed it over time. So a couple of things. One, my dad had a heart attack when I was 10, but thank God he survived. However, he did pass away 17 years ago. So I do talk about that in the book. I think my attitude, my perspective, my worldview, it evolved. I wasn't born this way, and it's still evolving, right? I mean, we're evolving human beings, and it continues to evolve. But there were, I think, big events in my life that had impacts on it. The first one was when my dad was, or when I was 10 years old, my father had a heart attack. I went to go see him in the hospital. He then went and had triple bypass surgery in the mid 1980s when, it was, there are very few surgeons in the country that actually did it. We lived in New Jersey at the time. He and my mom flew to Texas to have the surgery. And I very definitively, specifically remember being at my grandparents' house when the phone rang. My grandmother answers it. She hands it to me, and I hear, "Scott, Scott, it's Dad." Barely whispering, and I just bawled. 10 years old. I'm like, that was that wake up call. Like, wow, you came so close to losing your dad. You had no idea. And as a 10-year-old, you can't fully appreciate that. I talk later on about the 9/11 events. I was in Manhattan the day the World Trade Centers were hit. I had walked by the World Trade Center probably 20 to 30 minutes before the first plane hit the tower. And then I watched as the second plane came down the Hudson River, banked on its side, and crashed into the tower and exploded. I watched the buildings fall, and that had a major impact on me. And then I talk about the passing of both my mom and my dad. Both passed at fairly young ages. My dad was 65. My mom was 70. So, these were major motivational milestones as I think about the philosophy I live by is life is too short. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Make today the best day ever.
Mm. Okay. Well, talk to us a little bit about making today the best day ever. Are you giving people steps in the book, kind of perspective shifts, mindset? Like, what are we going through in
All
the
the
book?
above. All the above. So the book is written as so there are 10 principles of the Life is Too Short guide, which I abbreviate and call LITSG. Life is Too Short guide, LITSG. There are 10 principles of LITSG. What I say to people is that some of the principles may make sense to you, some may not. The idea is you take the ones that work, and maybe some will work later on. It's not a series of rules. It's also not a big academic sort of, based on thousands of data points and based on this empirical evidence. That's not it. This is a basic blocking and tackling, live in the moment, make today the best day ever. How do you do that? All right. So now you're like, all right, well, Scott, give us some ideas here. I can see where you're going before you even ask the question. Tell me what you're talking about. So the underlying principle, there's 10 principles, and I'm happy to go through as many as you want. But the very first one is attitude is everything, the power of positivity. And I pull that theme through the entire book. Attitude is everything, the power of positivity. And I talk about how much of your perspective you control. Do you know, if I were to ask you, Timmy, how much of your happiness is tied to, your long-term happiness is tied to your circumstances? So you got a new job, you got a new car, you got a new house, you're in a new relationship, maybe you got a big yacht. All right, let's go all the way. You just got a big yacht today. All right. So there's the big ones. Or let's unfortunately go the other way, because this sometimes happens. You've just dealt with death or illness or divorce. I give you all those facts. What percent of your overall happiness long-term do you think is tied to those sorts of circumstances?
I'm gonna go 15%.
You are pretty damn amazing. I will tell you, I've done this with hundreds of people, and very few people say that. So you are, I give you a big thumbs up. It's actually 10%. Most people tell me 50 to 70%. Most people believe that new boat and that new relationship and that big pay raise are what makes them happy long term. It's not. So because you're so brilliant, which is wonderful, do you know what the other impacts are? What impacts your happiness?
I mean, I'm gonna take a guess, and it's a lot of like the perspective and gratitude you take towards life every day.
Love you, my man. I wish I could hug you. I wish we were closer. So 50%, 50% of your happiness is tied in part to your genetic makeup. It's very hard to control it. And, your eye color, your hair color, your predisposition for certain disease, and your predisposition for your perspective or your happiness is tied to your genetics. However, you take that 50%, you add on the 10% that I talked about in terms of your circumstances, that leaves 40% that's entirely right here. Your worldview, and I'm sort of circling my head. So much of your happiness is based on how you view the world, the lens through which you view the world. And one of the practical tools I give people, and that's, the book is meant to be very practical. It's not one of these like you read it and you're like, great, this fluffy sort of baloney or whatever. Here's a real practical tool. Let me give you an example, Timmy, that when I tell this to people, when I show this to people, they're like, yeah, I don't know. And then the number of people that come back to me a couple of weeks later and say, that was pretty damn cool. Like, I do that now, and it makes a difference. Here's what I would say to you. So, Timmy, do you remember what your very first thought was when you opened your eyes this morning?
I'm not.
You don't. Okay. So I will tell you, most people answer that. I've been speaking to groups across the country, and when I say raise your hand if you remember your very first thought of the morning, I'd say 10 to 20%, 20% of the room raises their hand. Okay. So what I tell people is I use this image that I'd like people to think about, whether you wear glasses or not, is when you wake up in the morning, you reach over to your dresser and you put on your glasses for the day. Okay. And there are 3 sets of glasses sitting on your dresser, and you get to choose which one you put on. I think a lot of people, my guess is 50 to 70%, put on the glasses that you just put on. And those I call the blurry glasses. They're I'm waking up. It's Wednesday, and long way to the weekend, and nothing that interesting. Okay, no offense, but nothing that interesting. Unfortunately, I think 10, maybe 20% of people put on those blurry glasses. Oh my God, it's dark, it's cold, I'm tired, I don't feel like getting out of bed, I got so much to do today, I'm exhausted. What I encourage people to do is think about, and you have to be deliberate and proactive. Reach over in the morning, and here are the glasses I put on this morning. Literally, It's Wednesday. The sun is shining. I could hear the birds chirping. I'm going to the gym this morning. I'm going to swim. I actually swam this morning for the first time of the year, and I'm really excited about that. Soon as I get back, I have a chance to be on Timmy's show and share this message with the world. Later in the day, I have a really wonderful lunch schedule to go out with my wife. And oh, my wife is in bed next to me. Bam. I've been awake 10 seconds, and that is not baloney. I just talked about 7 or 8 things that I'm excited and thankful and grateful for. Why not? As Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Why not set the tone for the day? Here's a practical, easy tool. So I challenge you, Timmy, and I challenge your listeners when you wake up tomorrow morning, think about, wait, I heard this crazy guy on a podcast, but wait, it's a great day. It's a wonderful Thursday. I'm so excited to be awake. I'm excited to be in this comfortable bed. I'm excited to have a roof over my head. I want to go down and make myself a great breakfast. I'm in bed next to someone I love. My kid's in the other room. Whatever's going on in your life, everyone has something different that's going on in their life. But put on those bright, shiny, clear glasses and set the roadmap for the day. Now, look, I understand fully that you could put on those glasses and everything is amazing and you are so excited and you step out of bed and you twist your ankle. It happens, right? That's the reality. You can't control everything, but why not set yourself up for putting on that beautiful, clear, happy, grateful lens for the day and see where it takes you instead of starting with either the blurry, like, or the negative, like, I can't get out of bed. Why not? So there's a practical tip around the very first principle of attitude is everything, the power of positivity.
There we go. I love it, man. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your dreams and goals for the book and your life, really. What's your vision for the book, vision for your life? Take us through it.
So right now they're very much tied. I mean, my vision for my life is continuously malleable, and there's so much I want to do. I have many more chapters ahead. I've done a lot of wonderful things, and there's so many wonderful things I want to do. Right now, I'm really on a mission around the book, and I'm fired up about it. If you can't tell, I'm excited. I'm trying to spread this message. I'm trying to do podcasts. I'm trying to do radio and television appearances. I really want to speak to groups. So if anyone listening to this right now has an organization, a company, a team that thinks this message would resonate, and by the way, how could this message not resonate? Please reach out to me. Find me. Check out my website, lifeistoosshortguy.com. Reach out, because that's what I really want to do. What I really want to do is build a speaking platform to spread this message. So that way I can impact more people positively. As you go through life, you have different passions. Right now, this is my passion. And as you go through life, people talk about finding your purpose and finding your calling. I think that evolves. I really do. I think you have different purposes and callings at different points in your life. This is my calling right now. My highest and best use of my time, my life, my energy, my unique and differentiated skills is to spread this message, to make people smile, to make people think, to make people happier, to have a ripple effect. If one person, and I know more than one person is listening to this, but if one person listens to this and they smile a little bit more today, they put on those clear glasses tomorrow morning, they reach out to an extra friend today, they do something that they've been thinking about doing, but they needed that little nudge. That's my mission. That's my passion. That's what I'm fired up about. And that's what I'm having a lot of fun doing right now.
Yeah, I gotcha. So it's really just spreading the book and eventually getting to the point where you're speaking to groups about the book, or just doing it more often, more regularly.
That's it. Spread the message, share the love, make the world happier. It really is. It's so invigorating to me. I spoke to a company yesterday, and this morning I got an email about how they regret they didn't give me enough time. They only gave me an hour. They wish they'd given me more time. The message resonates, and we need these constant reminders. That's awesome. That is like, think about if you woke up every day and somebody said, thank you for helping make my life better. How could you have a better purpose and mission and goal in life?
It's so true. It is so true. Well, cool, man. Are there any other dreams and goals that you want to chat about right now?
Look, I have lots of them. I mean, the reality is we could spend days on that, but your show isn't that long. So that's part of where the book came from, is that I constantly have dreams and goals and wishes. And there's so many more things I want to do with my life. Like right now, professionally, I'm chairman and CEO of a public real estate company. That's wonderful. I'm also the co-founder and partner of a student housing development company. That's wonderful. What's the next chapter going to bring for me? I'd like to write another book. I'd like to speak more. At some point in my future, I'd like to get involved in academia. I want to teach. I want to teach young, energetic people. I want to be surrounded by on a college campus. Maybe someday I'll be president of a university. There's another dream that I have. I have so many dreams, goals, visions. My bucket list is endless.
There we go. There we go. I know you just spouted off like 6 of them.
I told you. I mean, you got to be careful. You only have an hour on the show. I could spend days on your show.
Yeah, man. I love it. Well, cool. Can you tell us about a couple more principles of the book of LITSG before we
I'm
move
happy to. I'm happy to. So another one of the principles is little things make a big difference. Little things make a big difference. And the point of this one is you can make very, very, very small changes. And this is what I love, is that you don't have to read the book, listen to me, and be like, that's a lot. I don't think I can do that. Little changes. Okay, so Scott, give me tools here. Give me something to latch onto with little things make a big difference. Smile. There you go. Right. Whenever I say it, people do it, and I love it. Don't you feel better after you smile? So I tell people, be more thoughtful and deliberate about smiling. Smile often. You wake up, you smile. You get in the shower, you smile. You're sitting at the breakfast table, you smile. You get in the car, you smile. You get to the office, you smile. You pick up the kids at school, you smile. Like, I could do this for an hour and keep telling you where to smile. Now think about this. As you're listening to this, are you smiling right now?
Yeah.
There you go. I left a second for you to smile. Smile more. How about things like little poems, little quotes, little things to inspire you? What do you have next to your computer? As I look next to my computer, I have a poem, and I'm looking over it now, that says, if I knew, right? So if I knew, and it's a poem talking about, if I knew this could be my last day, how would I live differently? And it reminds me. So find your poem, find your quote, find that corny mug, that corny shirt that says smile or be happy. I'm a runner. I love to run, and I have a pair of socks that I put on some mornings that says I'm smiling. And literally, sometimes it's in the dark. It's January. It's 5:30. I put my socks on, and it says I'm smiling, and it reminds me as a trigger. So there's another little things make a big difference. What about random acts of kindness? When was the last time you gave or were the recipient of a random act of kindness? And now I challenge you, do it today. Go out and do something special for someone today that you may not know. You may never know. They may not know you. It feels so good. There was a study done last year, it was published in the New York Times, I think in October or November, that said the recipients of a random act of kindness substantially appreciated that act more than the giver believed they would. Think about how powerful that is. The recipient of the random act appreciated it substantially more than the giver thought they would. So random acts of kindness, smiling, poems, quotes. What about whistling and singing? Walk around and whistle and sing. Don't be embarrassed. Whistle and sing when you're in your car. Whistle and sing when you're in your office. Whistle or sing when you're in the shower, whatever it is. There's been ample evidence and studies empirically to demonstrate this creates chemicals in the brain that makes you happier. Now, depending on how well you sing, I don't know if you're going to make the people around you happier, but it doesn't matter. What about celebrating more often? How often do you celebrate little wins? Make a big deal about little wins. You don't have to wait to find the cure for cancer. I mean, I hope you do, but you don't have to wait to find the cure for cancer. You don't have to win a Nobel Prize to celebrate. Go home tonight and celebrate something. Something you did today was worth celebrating. I'm going to celebrate a successful podcast with you. When we're done, I'm going to go celebrate and enjoy this. And it could be a small win. And in the book, I tell stories about small wins and celebrating. So I just gave you kind of 5 or 6 things within the concept of little things make a big difference. So first principle, attitude is everything, the power of positivity. Second principle, which I skipped over, is choose your attitude and own it. Choose how you're going to go about your day. And I give examples of that. Third one is little things make a big difference. Fourth one is minutes matter. So the book overall is the intersection of happiness and gratefulness intersecting with urgency. And I tell people, think about your minutes carefully. I do not give you a prescription of how to use your minutes. You need to decide how to use your minutes. So this isn't a a book about, you should spend more time with your family than at work. You should spend more time reading than watching TV. That's your choice. That is entirely your choice and not my judgment. What I tell people to do is think about minutes differently. And here's the example that I walk people through. When you're born, you have a life expectancy of plus or minus 80 years, means approximately 42 million minutes in your life. I suspect that very few of your listeners are newborns. Reasonable assumption.
Yep.
I'm just gonna draw a line in the middle here to make the math easy and say the average age of your listener is about 40. Some are going to be younger, some are going to be older. They could adjust the math on their own. So at 40, you have 21 million minutes left. Again, if you're older, you're going to have to adjust this, but we'll go with 21 million minutes at 40. You're going to sleep 1/3 of those. Now you're down to 14 million minutes. Invariably, later in life, you are likely going to slow down and have some physical and possibly mental ailments, and it may cost you 1 million or 2 million minutes. So now at age 40, you have 12 million minutes left in your life. It sounds like a big number. It's not. What I tell people to do is be thoughtful, be deliberate, and be proactive in how you use your minutes. And here's the mental image I paint for people. I say, think about a barrel. That barrel could be however you picture it. For me, it's a nice wine barrel. And in that wine barrel are gold coins. And every time I do something, including talking to you and your audience, I reach into the barrel and I grab out a couple of gold coins. Those are my minutes, right? They're very precious. I only have so many left. And here's the takeaway as you think about the barrel metaphor. One, you have no idea how many coins are in there. We don't know how many minutes we have left. They're not endless. There is a finite supply of gold coins or minutes in that barrel. Be thoughtful how you take them out and use them, and be careful because we all have a leak in our barrel, right? And those minutes sort of drop out the bottom and we don't know where they're going. Every one of your listeners now can relate to, I'm running as fast as I can. I'm doing as much as I can. I don't know what I got done today. I don't know what I got done this week. I don't know what I got done this month. Well, stop. Be thoughtful, deliberate. And in the book, I talk about setting goals and a goals grid and having a roadmap to how you use your minutes. Again, you decide, but be thoughtful and deliberate. Don't let the minutes sort of trickle by. So there's another principle. I could give you as many principles as you want, Timmy.
We might come back to them, but I want to get through a couple more questions.
Fire away.
Cool, man. So this is the part we know your dreams and goals, and we like to help people get to their dreams and goals on this show. So we ask you a couple questions that maybe will give you an idea of an action or a thought or maybe something that'll help you out. So what are the top 1 to 2 skills that you need to develop right now to make some of these dreams and goals come true? Really spread the book more and making the world happier one smile at a time.
I probably need to develop a better marketing strategy. I need to develop a very specific, how do you get to your audience? How does your audience know you exist? Who is your audience? And how do you amplify your message? I'd really love the world to hear this message. I think it resonates with everyone, literally everyone. I've spoken in elementary school classrooms, to corporations, at conferences. So I think I need to better define my audience, how I get to that audience, and what my marketing strategy is.
I gotcha. Do you have an idea, like a pull towards a certain audience? Or since your message is really for everyone, is it more of a, in what way can I disseminate it to the most people?
It's probably the latter, but I have to be thoughtful and careful because sometimes when you think you're all things to all people, you're nothing. So that's one of the things I'm struggling with a little bit right now, but I do think it has very broad appeal. I just spoke to a professional organization in Manhattan about right before Memorial Day weekend, so call it the end of May, and someone came up to me at the end and said, your message really needs to get to high school students. You got to think about how you get them to high school students. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good question. It's a good point. And I'm not sure exactly how to do that. So I think I need to segment and define my audience, figure out how to get to that audience, and figure out how to spread this message. So anyone listening to this right now that has ideas on how to spread this message, please reach out or just spread the message for me.
Yeah. Trying to think if I have any ideas. My first thought is you're jumping on podcasts. Have you ever thought about hosting some sort of podcast yourself, or maybe some sort of event around the Life is Too Short guy brand?
Yes to both. I haven't gotten to it yet, but at some point I think I will do both.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're also a CEO, and your time is stretched.
It
Like
is. It
putting
is
on a
stressful.
full event is
It's a balancing act.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That's cool, man. Develop a better marketing strategy. Um, yeah. Usually I push people on the marketing a little bit more, but you seem like a pretty got your mind together guy. So it's more a matter of like sitting down. Like it doesn't seem like fear is gonna hold you back from marketing.
Fear is not holding me back. You know,
Yeah.
one of what, but you know what? You didn't want to go here, but we're going to go here anyway. Another one of the principles in the book is take a chance and get it done today. That's one of
Mm,
the key principles. So remember, I told you there's 10. One of them is take a chance and get it done today. And it, it talks about you have to stop with those scary words of fear and risk. We all get
yep.
paralyzed by fear and risk and everything associated with that. And I redefine both fear and risk to think about it differently. Take that chance. I talk in the book that there's a book written by an Australian palliative care nurse called The Five Regrets of the Dying. And the key message, the key takeaway, and there are five of them, but the most overarching one is the biggest regret people have on their deathbed is the regret of what they didn't do.
Yeah.
So it's not the regret of I did something stupid, I said something stupid, I wish I didn't do X, Y, or Z. It's the
Yep.
regret of what they didn't do. So I encourage all of your listeners, and I'm dealing with the same thing with this book and my speaking opportunities. Don't let fear and risk slow you down. Push it aside, plow through. Don't wait because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Today's the day, and take a chance and get it done today. So there, we covered another principle without you even realizing it.
I love it. I love it. Well, what are the highest impact daily actions that are going to tick the needle forward towards your dreams and goals?
I need to be thoughtful, deliberate, and proactive in reaching out to people and doing podcasts and posting on social media. I've been posting a lot on social media, but I have to be more thoughtful about that. I'm building my audience. So I have a newsletter, and anyone that wants to join my newsletter, again, could go to my website, lifeistooshortguy.com. You can hop on the newsletter. I need to probably be more deliberate in figuring out how to get to decision makers that hire speakers. There are conference planners, there are event planners that hire professional speakers, and I need to sit down and come up with a real strategy of how do you get in front of them.
Yeah, I got you. Have you heard of um, that newsletter? I think it was The Hustle that grew so quickly.
No,
Gotcha. There's this guy, his name is Sam Parr, and he has, you know, Sam Parr?
no.
Oh, gotcha. Check out Sam Parr. He has a podcast, and then he has a buddy who's on his podcast who started a newsletter, and I think he grew it to 250,000 people, and he was able to sell it for millions. But basically, Sam Parr looked at his buddy because his buddy was like, "Hey, if I wanted to, build a business in a year, get a couple $1 million, how would I do it?" I don't think that's the best question to ask necessarily, but he asked him that question, and Sam answered him. He was like, well, you could build a newsletter. And if you do exactly what the hustle did to grow your newsletter, you'll be able to get an audience as the hustle did, and you'll scale it quickly. And so there may be something to look into there of like how the hustle specifically grew their newsletter when you're thinking about tapping into your audience and
That's great.
as you get your ideal client down, how to grow it exponentially.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Um, for sure. I wish I had looked more into it myself. I just wasn't super interested in growing my own newsletter and having that be my focus. But otherwise, I'd be able to tell you more about it right now. But I can't. So check it out. Let me know what you think.
Wonderful. Thank you for the suggestion.
Of course, of course. And what character trait do you most need to develop right now to make your dream life come true?
I don't know. I don't know if
I
I have a
I
good
figured you might be
answer.
one of the rare people who's like, you've probably been developing these character traits for a while. And so,
Yeah, look, we all have lots of room for improvement, and every one of my character traits can be enhanced. My ability to multitask, my ability to hustle, my ability to focus. I mean, there's so many things that could be developed. I'm just not sure there's one that comes to mind that would be tied to if you did this, it would help you reach your goal more. I think it's the combination of all my character traits that can continue to be honed, be developed, be more thoughtful, be more introspective.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that one. I like that one. Introspective.
That's one that I've been more focused on. Again, not directly tied to the dream question, because you tied it to the dream question. But if you're to say what character trait is something that you just want to develop more, it's being more introspective. It's stepping back and thinking about why are you doing this and what do you hope to accomplish, and how can you self improve who you are, what you're about. Again, not necessarily tied to the dream or to business or whatever. What are things that you want to get better at? And I constantly, and I have a list, I have lots of lists, but I have a list of here are certain things that I'm working on today that I want to get better at.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share one or two things that have come up in some recent introspection, if you're willing to? If not, that's fine.
Yeah, no, look, I'm absolutely happy to. So I'd like to invest and spend more time building social networks and social relationships and friendships. I've long been a big believer in the power of social networks and having important and meaningful relationships with friends. And it's one of here we go again, without me even trying, I'm just tying it to the book. One of the key principles in the book is can't make it alone. And how important it is to rely on other people. And as I'm introspective and I look at where I am in my life and my career, I want to spend more time investing in those relationships. We all think proactively. Well, maybe we all don't, but many of us think proactively about having an exercise plan, about having a nutrition plan, about having a work strategy. How many people have social relationship strategies? And it sounds like oh, if it's a strategy, is that like a business thing? No, it's you get out of life and out of things what you put into it. Are you investing in your friendships? Are you investing in your relations with your family? If not, step back and take more time to do that. And that's one of the things that I'm really focused on right now as I think about where I'm in my life and my career is how do I strengthen and build meaningful relationships? Not superficial, how many friends do you have on Facebook or whatever the case may be, or how many people are at your party, but how many people can you pick up the phone and count on and rely on and know they can count on you? So from an introspective standpoint, I'm really focusing on building and developing relationships with friends and family right now.
I like that. I've actually thought a lot about that, and there are a couple things. One of the principles, the little things matter, right? The little things count. Um, when I first got out of college, I jumped into being a realtor, and I was kind of learning from people, mentorships and YouTube videos and all that stuff. And they would consistently talk about how the little things would matter in those relationships, like writing a card or like just calling them and asking them about how their family's doing for 3 minutes. Like those are the types of things that build relationships.
Absolutely.
And it was just so interesting to me because I'm like, when I was younger, I probably had a pretty emotionally tumultuous family environment. And so I stopped like relying on those little, like I just didn't care. I stopped caring about the words people said to me. I stopped caring about the things people gave me because I couldn't rely on my parents to say those kind words or give me those good things. And so I was like, well, I need to figure out a way to not need them. Otherwise, it's going to cripple my ability to perform. Right. So I turned on a lot of apathy. And now it's kind of been hard to like turn it back on of caring. Like when somebody affirms me for something, like my two love languages are quality time and physical touch. And then the other three, like gift giving, words of affirmation, have like no bearing in my life. And acts of service kind of shows up for me. That being said, a lot of people like words of affirmation. A lot of people like gift giving. And because it's
Sure.
hard for me to receive it, it's hard for me to realize that other people also would like to receive it. So I don't really give it as much, but it's those little things, those little gifts, just the little thoughtful $5 gifts. Like it doesn't have to be anything crazy. The $3 cards, the 2 minute phone calls over 30
Love it.
years that
I
builds a
love it.
really, really cool relationship. So
I love it. I have a whole chapter on that. I absolutely love it. I tell a story. So one of the things I do throughout the book is tell some personal stories and tell stories of other people. And I tell a great story. My family and I were traveling on, I think it was Christmas Day about 2 years ago. And it was my wife's idea. I'll give her credit. She created these little like plastic suitcases, like little, real little. Think about maybe the size of 3 by 5 inches kind of thing. And in it, she put like a chapstick, a Starbucks gift card, a couple of mints, something else. And when my family and I got on the plane, we gave them to all the flight attendants. They were so excited, so enamored. They came over, they thanked us. Can we help you in any way? Can we get you a drink? We didn't want any of that. We just, again, wanted to share some love and respect for people that were working on Christmas Day. Cost us next to nothing. I bet you each little one was maybe $10. Maybe we gave out 5 or 6 of them. Again, to your point, it takes so little to change someone else's life. Go out and be proactive, thoughtful, and deliberate in how you do it.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. The other thing I've thought about in relationships is when I was in college, we had a really tight-knit community, right? And it's because we spent so much time together and we were on a mission together. And so I
Right.
think what I realized is some of the most vulnerable aspects of you and some of the most adversity has gone through, the more your lives are intertwined. And so the more
Sure.
you get to see me in different aspects of my life and we're going somewhere together, the more you're going to see the good and the bad. And I'll have opportunities to be vulnerable and we'll have opportunities to go through adversity together and come out on the other side with a fortified relationship. And so what I really like about that is it's easy to kind of get into the adult world. And I mean, you can literally not see
Get
someone
lost.
for like
Get
three
lost.
months.
Yep.
And it's just normal. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you for 3 months. Like, how's stuff going? But for me, it's like, if I didn't see somebody for 3 months in college, it was like, you've missed my entire life. Like,
Yeah.
everything has changed since you last saw me. And so I feel like one of my visions for my community that I'm living in is to intertwine life as much as possible. So not only do we have frequent touch points throughout the week, but they're like meaningful touch points that we're actually sharing important parts of our
Love
life
it.
together. So
I love it. I love it. That's beautiful. It's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just got on my soapbox there. I just love
No, but it's
community, love
great. This is a great
relationships.
conversation. Look, the power of relationships is so important. It's a big part of what I talk about in the book. It's really there's a ongoing Harvard study. I don't know if you've heard about it. What makes a good life? It started
Mhm.
in the late 1930s. So this has been ongoing for 80 plus years. In the late 1930s, a cohort of Harvard men, sophomores, were selected, 256, to follow for the rest of their life on what makes a good life. And then a few years later, in the 1940s, a group of about 450 inner city Boston area youth, less privileged, different family backgrounds, were added to the study. So you take the 250, you take the 450, you have about 800 or so people, subjects that the Harvard researchers have been following for the last 80 plus years, the longest running longitudinal study
Yep.
of what makes a good life. And, obviously some of the original participants have passed on, and now they're following their children and grandchildren, physical assessments, mental assessments, surveys, so on and so forth. What's the takeaway? What's the overarching principle of 80 years of data on hundreds, thousands of people when you add in the children and grandchildren? Social connections matter more than anything. And there's so much empirical evidence that demonstrates. So one of my favorite takeaways, especially given my age, is that those that at age 50 self-identified as having the strongest social networks, at age 80, 30 years later, were physically the healthiest, mentally the healthiest, and the happiest.
Mm.
Think about that for a minute. Think about how powerful that is. There was a greater correlation between your social network at 50 and your happiness and health at 80 than your at 50 your physical and mental condition. So if you had a predisposition for diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, whatever the case may be, that had less of a correlation to your happiness and health at 80. Think about that. You're obese at
Yeah.
50, there was less of a correlation to health at 80 than your social network.
Mm.
That's pretty powerful.
That is, that really is.
That's eye-opening.
Yeah.
That's why anyone listening to this right now, as soon as you're done, pick up the phone and call a friend. Send a text, send a picture, reach out to somebody, engage and build those relationships.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Well, Scott, if there were one or two people you could meet right now, this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take that next step towards your dreams and goals, who would they be and how would they help you?
Wow, that's a great question. I hadn't thought about one or two people to help me make the next step. Um, I would, I don't know if it would be a specific person, but the type of person would be someone that has had great success in building a speaking platform, spreading the message, building a brand, building a company, a platform around spreading a message. I'd love to meet people that spread inspirational messages and that are focused on changing the world and making the world happier. I'd like to meet people that have had great success on marketing and building a brand. So those are the types of people that I think would be really helpful to me.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Um,
So if you know any of them, send them my way.
Will do. Okay, nobody comes to mind. Other than like, the organizations that like helped Grant Cardone get to 10x, right?
Right,
There,
right.
there, there are so many organizations that do stuff like that, but no particular individual.
Those people are out there. They're out there.
Mhm.
I'll find them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or they'll find you, given that you said it on the podcast now.
I hope so.
One of the two. One of the two. I love it, man. Well, cool. Now we're gonna jump to our thriving three. And the first question is, what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Oof. You know what? I'm gonna go with just because I just talked about it. So for me, books, I love to read. I actually listen more than I read books, but I
Same.
probably listen to 2 books a month. So it's hard for me to. I'm gonna go with a recent one and tie it to our conversation that we just had, which is in the name of the book is called The Good Life. It came out earlier this year, and it's about that Harvard study. It's really compelling and thought provoking and I'm going to go with The Good Life for now. Yeah, let's do that. The Good Life.
There we go. Man, and just speaking about that Harvard study, it's so just being intentional about the small things in our relationships. Like that is a
Amazing.
reminder to everybody.
It's amazing. We don't invest. That's why I'm introspective on it right now, and I'm trying to invest more time. And by the way, I'm constantly trying to. I'm the guy that organizes the annual golf trip. I'm the guy that organizes the annual friends trip. I'm the guy that organized all my high school reunions. Like I love to do that kind of stuff, but I want to do it more. I want to get better at it. I want to build my social network. I want to build and deepen my friendships.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, this may sound crazy, but do you think there is a business out there that helps people remember those small things, commit to those small things, and build out their social networks based on those small things? Like, I feel like there's a clear problem here. I feel like there's a clear solution. I just feel like we need a way to make sure, even a nonprofit, it doesn't have to be the exchange of money or whatever. Although I feel like that typically makes things more sustainable. But there has to be something that can consistently solve this problem for people because I feel like it's something that's not touched on as
Yeah,
far as
I think to a certain degree it's a recognition more than anything else. So I'm
Mhm.
not sure. I think your point's a great one, and it's about execution and blocking and tackling, which is important. But right now, I think it's more about recognition. Like how many people listening to this right now before this conversation we're focused on it. We're
Yep.
thinking about like, all right, fine. So I got a bunch of friends. I'll go home and I'll hop on LinkedIn or Facebook and I'll like this or I'll tweet that, and that's pretty cool. And they'll know that I'm supporting them. You know what? That's crap. When was the last time you picked up the phone and called? When was, like you said before, send a handwritten note. I love to send people handwritten notes. When do you hear somebody say something? Here's something I love to do. Like if I hear somebody say like they're training for a marathon or their kids graduating or some big momentous thing that's coming up in a couple of weeks or months, I will throw it on my calendar. I'll be like, Timmy is running a half marathon in November. So like October 28th, I'll send a note. Hey, bud, I was just thinking about you. How's the marathon training going? You're like, what? Holy moly, that's awesome. That's so easy, right? It's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it is more of a recognition thing. I think the biggest thing I could see is like maybe an app that syncs to your contact book and schedules 3 calls for friends or something twice a week.
Great idea. That could be
Yeah.
brilliant. You should go get going on that quick before somebody else does it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I got you. But it definitely is a recognition and then just doing it. Like it's not that people don't know how to do it. It's not that people need to be taught how to do it. It's like
Just
just do
do
it.
it. Just
Choose to
do
do
it.
it.
Do
Yeah.
it. As you're listening to this right now, write down 3 names that you want to strengthen this month. Right now.
There we
Take a
go.
break. Write down 3 names.
I love it. Unless you're driving.
Unless you're driving. Then when you stop, write down 3 names.
Yep, yep. What is one way you like to take care of yourself, Scott?
Exercise. Love to exercise. I
Mm,
swim, bike, run, golf, hike, you name it. I think physical activity and exercise and health are really important.
there we go. And what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet that somebody that has had great success in building a brand and the speaking platform?
Continue to be aggressive
Mm,
and deliberate and proactive. You can't sit around and wait for the world to come to you. As I've been building this brand, this book, this platform, I just keep reaching out to people. And some, by the way, may not respond. That's fine. I'll keep reaching out. And some may say they can't help. That's fine. I can take rejection. That's part of the process. But you can't just sit and let the world come to you. Be proactive. Go out, and that's what I'm doing.
yeah, I love it. Now we got our final section of the podcast. It can get a bit personal. I don't think you'll have any uh, problems with it though. So I'm just
Fire
gonna
away.
jump in. What is a limiting belief that continues to pop up in your life, if any?
So I'd say one that has been problematic for me throughout the book journey, but I'm overcoming now, is my lack of particular expertise. So
Mm-hmm.
when I sat down to write the book, I was like, you're not a academic, you're not a PhD, you're not a psychologist, and you're telling people how to be happy. And I struggled with that through a lot of the writing of the book. Now, as I talk to more and more people and I get feedback on, yeah, but these are practical tips like this, all the stuff we talked about building friendships, about smiling, about whistling, about reaching out to people. These are practical action items that excuse me, that people can implement. So I've overcome the limiting belief that I definitely had early on of, you don't have credibility in this space. You don't have a foundation, an academic or intellectual foundation for supporting it. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I gotcha. And so really it was the talking to people and realizing that you had daily action,
It's more
practical
practical.
action steps
Exactly.
that could help you
Exactly. That
overcome
was
it.
something I had to overcome through the book journey.
I gotcha. Are there any limiting actions to this day that reinforce that belief, or do you feel like for the most part it's overcome now?
I think I've overcome it. But if you asked me that question a few months ago, I would have told you I'm still struggling with it.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. Cool. Well, got one last question for you. What is your favorite belief about yourself?
Uh, I'm the happiest guy in the world.
There we go.
Power positivity. I love it. It is the foundation of who I am, what I'm about, and the love and message that I'm trying to spread to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, Scott. That's all we got for you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much, Timmy. And if anyone wanted more information, please check out my website at lifeistooshortguy.com.
Great. Is there anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
Find the book again. If you want to learn more about the message, you can find the book on Amazon or on barnesandnoble.com. The Life is Too Short Guy, strategies to make every day the best day ever. If you want to learn more about get on my mailing list or learn more about my speaking platform, hit me up at the website lifeistooshortguy.com. Thanks so much, Timmy.
Of course. If you guys are listening to this, you loved what Scott had to say, make sure to check his book out, buy a copy, make sure to rate and review it, buy another copy, send it to a friend. And if you happen to know anybody who has a experience building a brand, getting that speaking platform together, and you want to make the connection to Scott, make sure to do that as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.